Hello, athletes and fans of bodybuilding. Breaking news with Primetime Muscle. I have here the master of ceremony for the Arnold Classic and the Mr. Olympia. He's the 2000 Mr. USA's, the voice of bodybuilding, the athletes representative, Bob Cicherillo. Bob, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Fresh off the golf course, boys, as you can see.
Wow.
Looking very handsome, Bob. Also with us, he is four-time Arnold Classic champion, 1992 Mr. USA's, the legend himself, Flex Wheeler. How are you, Flex?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, Bob, what's your handicap?
Oh, God knows these days. The best I've ever gotten down to was about a 6.
Really?
Which was actually pretty good. This is a good trivia for you guys. I actually, years ago, when I was living in LA, I was playing a lot of golf, 3-4 times a week. I actually got pretty good. I actually took third place in the LA City Championships.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I never tried the sport. Never tried it.
It's incredibly humbling, to say the least.
Yeah, like me coming back in, what was it, 2019. That was incredibly humbling.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Gentlemen, we might have Chris Cormier joining us. I sent him the link, but he might be intimidated by the presence of Flex.
Probably.
He's been scared of Flex since 1992, but we don't know if he's going to come in or not. But the news are that it seems like Chris Bumstead, the four-time Classic Physique champion, is now seriously contemplating doing a pro show as an open bodybuilder. Now, Bob and Flex, before I show the video from the truth. Oh, here we go. Hold on one second.
Oh.
Hey, Chris.
Damn, look who's dressed.
Yeah. What are you applying for a job? Look at you.
I am applying for a job. How you guys doing?
Nice.
He's a role model citizen, Bob. He just got an offer to receive a fake Junior G-Man badge.
Wow. Oh, congratulations. That's the real deal, all right.
Hey, man, that's great.
And Christopher, wow, I haven't heard that.
I know, look at that. Look, I got Robert on mine, but hey, how come I got a question for it, Doc? How come Flex is the only one with a Nick he's got the legend, man. Me and Chris got nothing.
You just got to type it in, that's all.
You have to type in. You can type in Robert, the voice of bodybuilding.
I got to do it myself. Okay.
Yes.
And then Chris can type in Chris, four-time runner-up Arnold Classic.
Wow.
Sweet. Okay.
Wow, Flex.
Wow,
why do you have to go there, Flex?
Wow.
Why do you have to go there?
Chris,
You told me to say that when Chris got in the live, and now you're backing down.
That's okay. Me and Chris are very aware of who he is and what you really said.
And I had the balls to go up there and do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
I must say, Chris, you look very debonair there.
Oh, well, thank you there, buddy. It's the just for men.
Very nice.
I love my gray. I can't wait till it turns completely white. I'm working on my Moses right now.
Yeah, you are. You look like Ronnie at the Olympia when he turned from a boxer into Moses.
Yeah.
One of the great Olympia moments of all time. That actually spawned the declaration of getting rid of props for all time. So thank you, Ronnie. That was well done, sir.
So Tarek, this is
Chris Bumstead. Bob, should I play the video before, or you want to give your thoughts? Should we? Oh, let's play the video. Let's
play the video.
Let's see what Hany Rambod says with Chris Bumstead. It's the Truth Podcast. As soon as the live is done, I'm going to put the description here, the link, so you guys can go there and watch the full interview. It's an awesome interview with Chris Bumstead, with Austin. I think Austin is his name, and Hany Rambod on the Truth Podcast. But I want to play it so that we can go from there and see exactly what his state of mind is. It looks to me like this guy is ready to do an open pro bodybuilding show. It just seems a matter of time, but let's see exactly what they say here. Let me find the video here.
The things that I always get questions on, and I'm sure you do too, lots, is that when will Chris do an open show? because you've teased it quite a bit, and more recently now than ever, about possibly doing an open show. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think there needs to be a little bit more clarification, because people go, oh, maybe he can get an invite to the Olympia.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Just pull out of the Classic League and go on the Open.
That's it. So tell me about what your mindset is with that, how it was before, how it is now, and what is your mental stance on getting ready for an open show? I know you've talked about it. You even teased it a little bit when we did our seminar in the Arnold last year, but where are you with that?
So as I always say, I would never push myself on certain things and train at a certain level and do anything throughout like a year or 2 years time to be in the open. Like, I don't want to push for a year to be in the open, but I would love to peak for an open show. Maybe 1 year if time allows it, my health allows it, and we're just like, I'm in shape post Olympia or something. Because even last year, and I was thinking this when we were talking about peak week, we were still so conservative. Like, I had no sodium, not no, but it was really none. A little bit in like,
no, you
mustard.
had some,
a tiny little bit.
Some.
Barely. But like, I didn't have like a burger and fries and a sodium load where I'm I'm so full right now. It was like, all right, like, like 10 milligrams of pink Himalayan salt on this meal, or a little bit of mustard. I had my little crack scale out where I would like sprinkle the salt on. Like, put it on the meal,
He's like, it's all I got.
I was like, can I load up some salt? And he's like, nope, you look good. Why would you change it? I'm like, fair enough. But like, I'm curious what it would like. We fed me into a show and really like blew up. I would lose some lines. And it wouldn't have looked good for Classic. I had to come in really lean because everyone's lean and have a weight cap and all that stuff. But to really see what my physique would look like, if for like 2 weeks we just fed me up, pushed the limits, carved up really heavy for it, and I stepped on stage at like 248 maybe, like.
And you're going into it with a completely different mindset. And you're not going into
for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like
so not an Olympia type thing, but just not a big show, but something that would just be a basic open pro show is what you're talking about?
Maybe, who knows? Or this year, whatever happens will be happened. The next year, I'm like, I'll do the open. And then I'll ask for a special invite. And
now you're just throwing things out there. You're just stirring the pot.
Wow, the pot has been turned upside down.
I have said,
expecting that one.
I have said that if the Arnold moved to 3 weeks post Olympia, I would do the open at the Arnold.
Next year,
yeah, but they're not. It's not moving though. So that's
well, I'm going to keep throwing that out there until they do.
Okay,
or I just won't do it. So
there you go. Listen, Brian Powers, you're out there listening.
Move the whole Olympia,
move the Arnold Classic. Oh my God! So yeah. I think you're kind of half serious about it.
Yeah, we'll see.
I can tell. Most of the time I can tell between him joking and being serious. And right now, there's definitely some serious nature to that.
We'll find out, I guess, later this year or next year. Who knows?
You'd be like, hey, honey, we got to have a conversation. We gotta figure out.
Spice it up a little bit.
Spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would definitely throw some spice on that.
Okay. Bob Ciccarillo, listening to this conversation, does it strike you as this guy is planning, along with his coach Hany Rambod, to make an appearance in the open category?
Well, actually, Chris has been pretty steady with his answers. He's been asked this a million times. I think we actually had him on this show on one of our past presentations that we did, and he's been pretty adamant that he has actually no opposition to doing an open show. But like he says, he's not really going to deviate, which I think would be smart. He would literally just want to kind of maybe fill up a little more because he wouldn't have to make a weight like he does now in Classic. So I think he would want to do it just to kind of see where he's at, see how he looks, see how he would compare. Like he said, he wouldn't want to do a big show. A couple of interesting things that he did say is, if you notice, he says he would like to peak for an open show. He would not want to take a year. So this is not something he would plan to do, that he would train to do an open. He's going to put on 40 pounds. He's going to go through all the rigmarole, take whatever supplements, he feels so he would need to take. He's not going to do that. I'd like to see it. I think he comes in this year. Let's just say he wins number 5 on the Olympia stage. And I think he would entertain something just for grins, really, after that. Whatever, just pick a show.
Hey, Flex, what do you think? Do you think this guy is going to the open? And if he's going to the open, is it just for fun, or you think he can make an impact?
No, I 100% believe he can make an impact. He's teased about this a lot. He was talking about the Honor Classic being moved. Obviously, that had never happened, but there are some big time shows right after the Olympia. I think he probably goes and stresses his body out by trying to get as lean as he does for the category he's competing in now. But I think it actually will be heavier for him and better for him to go like immediately after the Olympia, because he can still fill out and his frame can literally handle at least 20 or 30 more pounds very easily. I think that would be a great thing. I think it'd be a great thing.
Chris, Chris Bumstead really close because you were the coach of Breon Ansley. So you guys had to attack him every single Mr. Olympia. You saw the growth of his physique, especially from the back. What do you think is the kind of damage that this guy could do in the open bodybuilding?
Well, Tarek, I feel like, just judging from some of the poses that he hits, can show that he's going to be very effective because he has the cuts of he's basically like a hybrid bodybuilder with utilizing the shape, utilizing some of the key cuts and separations that he have in his physique, and just adding fullness to those muscle bellies. I think you're going to it's gonna be more so the body parts itself, not that he actually needs to put on 20 or 30 pounds, but he actually comes down from 260, 265 or so from the off season to make his weight, which I'm probably think is pretty hard, but I know his body would be able to utilize those extra carbohydrates and proteins to his advantage in that front lat spread, side chest. All these things would be very easy. You don't need to have huge biceps in order to be very effective in that category. Just judging from the shape that he has in his physique, I think that's going to be enough to him to be very effective.
Bob, Hany Rambod, you know him very well. He's a very strong personality, very persistent. He just had a client of his going from the 212, winning the 212, going to the Open, and placing second at the Olympia. I mean, his mindset might be, I'm just going to shock the world and bring these three guys into the top 5. Do you think if Chris, at his best on an open stage, could go into a top 5, or you don't think this could happen?
Oh, I actually absolutely think it could happen. Much like Chris was just saying, imagining Chris Bumstead with another 7-8 pounds of fullness on him. That's all he would have to do. Literally, he comes in, I believe he said he's at 238, 239, which is just under the 240 cap. Much like Derek Lunsford did. Again, he didn't go crazy. He didn't try to get too big. He kept his lines. He kept his shape and proportion, and that's what propelled him to a second-place finish. And some people arguably think he could have won the damn thing. So Chris doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. He comes in at 250 and doesn't lose more than 1% or 2% of conditioning. This kid's a danger to anybody out there. He could literally hang in that first call out, and then you got to obviously just see him compared straight up. To the quote, the big boys. I think he would be right there with those guys, but I would not look to think that we're going to see Cbum on an Olympia stage in the Open. Possibly not ever. I don't know if we're ever going to see that.
Now, here's my question. I want to go right back to you, Bob, because on the video, he says that I could come in a little bit heavier and maybe lose some lines. And that was a moment where I said to myself, I don't think Hany will let you go on stage without those lines. Right off the bat, I think Hany would compromise the size and say, don't worry about the scale, come in as conditioned as possible. So do you think there's a miscommunication there in the beginning? They're saying, hey, I can come on fuller, lose some lines and have fun. And Hany's like, no, we're not playing around. If you're going to do it, let's do it right.
Well, isn't Derek our best example? He didn't lose any lines. He actually got better as he went up, and he had to suck it down to 212 to make his category. He went up about 10 pounds smartly and stepped on that stage. He didn't lose anything. I don't think Chris loses anything at close to 238, or I'm sorry, going from 238, 239 to let's say 248. Let's just say again, it's 10 pounds. He just might be fuller with the same lines, and that's a pretty dangerous combination. I just don't think he's got the mindset or the wish to go into, like he even said, probably wouldn't be like the Olympia or a big show, but maybe he'd entertain an Arnold or just some open show just to kind of test the waters, see where he's at. I think in Fantasyland it would be fantastic to have a guy of his caliber. And how about a guy going for history? Nobody has ever won two different Olympia titles, 2 different categories, 2 different divisions at an Olympia. That would be history making.
Absolutely. Flex, I want to go with you. In a live that we did with him, he said, I think my physique is currently similar to Rafael Brandão. Rafael Brandão placed 10th at the Olympia. Amazing lines, amazing shape. But one thing that we might say about Rafael Brandão is that he's a bit undersized to deal with some of the guys that are ahead of him. Now, what is the game plan on Chris Bumstead going to the Open and succeeding? Is it just adding 10 pounds like Bob said? Is it come in as conditioned as possible, not worry about the scale? Or, if he keeps the same or only 10 pounds, he might fall into the 10th place, right there with Rafael Brandão ahead of him or behind. What would be your strategy?
So first, I didn't know that Chris competes in the 230s. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I agree with Chris and with Robert there. I mean, 10 pounds in this frame would look absolutely ridiculous. And I don't think, him saying, what he said in the interview, he truly doesn't understand his body and what it's capable of. That's obvious. But I don't think he would lose any lines. Like you said, I think he actually would look better at that weight, and guarantee it would not have the stress that it does for him to suck down beneath his look. I've always thought that he can do more. And I think he actually, on what Bob said, I think we can actually see him one day in Olympia, especially if he goes and wins a title outside of that. It would be a right move for him to make it. It'd be an amazing move for him to make. And I don't think that's impossible. I think that's very possible. I think he's starting to believe in himself and see what we always have seen in him.
Chris, in one live, he said, well, I'm hesitant to go into the Open because I'm not a guy that has the facility to gain muscle mass as some of the other guys. I'm comfortable with the classic physique. But I almost feel like disagreeing with him, even though he knows his physique better than anybody, because when we look at his development from the back, this guy grew muscle and he grew very fast. This is from, 3-4 years difference. And, that's just him getting bigger at a very fast pace. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know particularly very fast pace. It's been a work in progress from him coming into the sport as an open bodybuilder first, but then coming down to the classic, he was, very young still. So I think it's just a matter of him maturing, and that maturity coming together with maybe changing his mindset in the gym, possibly, because he came from, bringing up weak body parts and bringing up into making them strengths. And that alone, I think you just keep applying that same type of mentality behind your progression on the stage. I think that's all he needs to do is continue that.
Now, Bob, he mentioned special invitations. You are the creator of the special invitation. You,
Not me.
Bob, do not back down on this. Okay, we're live. Millions of people are gonna watch this.
It was around a long time before I came around, brother.
So you are. What do you think? After Derek receives an invitation, does Chris Bumstead deserve an invitation? Should he get an invitation? Yes, no. Is this a different scenario from Derek Lunsford?
I don't, lost in the shuffle always. For the record, I have never been a big proponent of the special invite. I think it's the word is special. Okay, it should be reserved for special circumstances. Flex Wheeler wants to come back. He was a great champion. He wants to. Great. I have no issue with that. Right? You got a past former great, that wants, like a Kevin Levrone. I had no issue with that. Derek Lunsford. I was absolutely not in agreement that he deserved a special invite. It was based on nothing really other than speculation. It's not that he's not deserving. It's that it undermines the entire integrity of the qualification process. That's what I don't like about the special invite. Again, this big Rami the other year, Cedric, rest in peace. You know, these were special circumstances that these guys warranted a special invite. Okay, Chris Bumstead, great champion, current champ, 4-time champ. That's in classic. It's not in open. I don't see any good reason he can't go into a regular show. Listen, could he go and kick ass? Absolutely. You just saw that back double bicep picture. Very reminiscent. If I had to pick somebody he reminds me of, Flex and Chris, you guys, I'm sure would probably agree. That's Barry DeMay 2.0 right there. That's Barry DeMay back in the day. If he really pushed it pedal to the metal and came in 100%, very similar physiques, great structure, beautiful body and shaping on him. But I don't think anybody deserves a special invite if they are ready, willing, and able to compete. To me, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, Bob, I think if it's a special invite, but it's like, oh, the fans want to see it, almost like putting together a top ranking boxers.
Sure.
Like the people want to see it. Give the people what they want to see.
Well, I don't. Again, I agree, Chris. But here's the problem with that: where do you start and where do you stop it? All right. So, how many other people are sitting there going, "Hey, wait a minute. How about me getting a special invite?" Or, "Hey, I took."
So you're not Derek. It's as simple as that.
But again, Derek. Like I go back to that, right? The only thing Derek had in his favor going into that was that he looked good in Pittsburgh guest posing. That's it. Like that was the resume of, hey, can I get a? Now again, it's not like he was actively looking for it. They kind of extended it to him. Listen, I get all sides. All three of us, all four of us, actually wear different hats in this game of promotion, of giving the fans what they want. But there's also that little bit of thing that, again, it's called integrity of the process, right? We be Pro League and we have rules that we generally adhere to. Now, I don't agree with all the rules that we have. I'm not really in favor of Masters Pro cards. I'm not in favor of runner-ups getting pro cards. I think if you lose, but I also do agree that, yes, we do have a sport. You know, we do progress with the times. We've got a lot more divisions and different people, and people got to remember something else out there. I am probably the last guy in this earth, for obvious reasons, that would ever advise somebody not having to earn a pro card.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But I was one of the guys that was in the audience in Pittsburgh, and he was still on the stage, and I was already tapping Weinberger and
sure,
those guys,
of course,
on the back row. I said, we got to see this guy on Olympia stage. Even it was just even Tyler, like Tyler.
Let's look at this another different way, okay?
That just go against these guys again.
Let's look at something from a different perspective. Giving him a special invite. Rob's a promoter out there. Now, listen, Derek's down in Florida, right? I don't know. You think Tim Gardner would have wanted him on the Tampa Pro stage, all right, or some other stage, or Chicago, or a different promoter that could have used Derek? Talk about a lightning rod, right? How about Derek goes into Tampa, and he's got to win the show. It's obviously going to bring a lot of excitement, sell tickets, bring up interest, right? Great for the promoter. I like these guys being out there. I'm also not in agreement with letting top 5 guys from the Olympia qualify for next year, because like any other sport, just because you win the Masters in golf doesn't mean you get the year off. We need these superstars out there competing, bringing in fans. And just one more a quick point on that. If the top 5 was not qualified from the Olympia this year, guess who would have been in the Arnold this year? Derek Lunsford, right? Because here's the thing, right?
Maybe
not qualified for the Olympia. He's got 2 choices: hit the Arnold early. Let's just say he wins it, right? Boom. Now you've got 9 months until the Olympia. Or you got to wait till a show later in the year, which is definitely going to possibly mess up your preps, which he adamantly did not want to do. If he's not qualified for the Olympia already, Derek Lunsford's in the Arnold right now.
But to say about one second, Flex, but to say that is like this guy was sitting at 260 at the time. So whatever he had to do, wear and tear your butt down to 212, that probably would have kept him out or kept some type of issue. I don't know. Listen, I don't know what the real reason why he's not in the Arnold. I would have been in the Arnold. Flex would have been in the Arnold. We would have been in that Arnold.
Again, keep in mind, he just won the Olympia 212 6 months before that. 6 months. So it's not like this was going to be some big problem. Listen, Flex Lewis, guy named Flex Lewis, we all remember, right? I don't know. Somehow he managed to do it 7 times in a row. busting his ass getting down there to put 7 Olympia titles in his back pocket. So, no, I'm not buying that. Well, he's kind of past it, this and that. 6 months before that, he was the champ on stage at 212.
I think this is an argument that isn't necessary because I think Chris alluded to doing a non-Olympia show, and I think he would win that. Hence, winning that, he would need a special invite. I don't even think he would want one, nor would Hany want one. I actually feel that if he went out in a show right after the Olympia and just did like we all normally do, eat better and we way better, I think he would win a show. I don't think he would need a special invite. I think he would earn it.
Well, he was hinted towards maybe a special invite. Just I know it's jokingly, but still, he still hinted. It still came out of his mouth a little bit there.
Bad thing about that is if he asked for a special invite, regardless of whether we agree with it or not, he would probably get it.
Well, this is the Pandora's box that was open, right? This was the Pandora's box that was open with Lunsford, right? Because now, okay, well, we're going to give him a special invite on the idea that he's a 212 champ and he looked really good and he got to hang with the guys. Great. That was the impetus to give him a special invite. And you're right, Flex. Now, if Bumstead gives him, I don't know, can you deny him now? It's like, well, you gave Lunsford an invite.
Champion. Right. He's an actual 4-time champion. So it would be more argumentative that they would let him in. But again, based on what he's saying, I don't think he would walk into a show before the Olympia. I think it would be a show afterwards. And I think he would probably win that show. Hence, he would need a special invite.
I agree. Yeah.
Hey, Bob, I know somebody who would be more upset about him getting a special invite than you. And that would be his brother-in-law, Ian Valier.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, without due respect to Ian, he's not Chris Bumstead. And like Flex said, this guy's a 4-time Olympian and classic, which is bodybuilding. So you could actually make way more of a case for Bumstead to get an invite than, let's say, Brandon Hendrickson wanted an invite, or Breon or somebody like that, who was in, a different position, right? So, Flex, you did actually mention something, though, that I wanted to kind of pick up on. And that is I wouldn't mind seeing the Arnold change dates. I know traditionally it's been in March for whatever reason. They started years and years ago. But in the schedule, it doesn't really help the show or the athletes. They had a very difficult time this year, as we all know, getting a decent, and a full lineup there with a lot of bodies. The problem is they are so far apart that it's difficult to either hang on after the Olympia or like you did, Flex. I mean, and both of you guys were in the Arnold numerous times. It's very, very difficult, and you don't want it to impact the Olympia. I would like to see it possibly in, let's just say the Olympia is moving back into the September, October time slot, which I think is a smart play, right? I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing the Arnold in December, right? Where the guys from the Olympia can hang on, and you could see most of the Olympia lineup in the Arnold going for that top spot, and then you go on with the season.
Well, Bob, I did 10 Olympias and 10 Arnold Classics, and I know for sure that one of those shows is going to be my best, and one of the shows is going to be a step down from my best. I know.
Yeah, it was different then because we had the Pro Ironman, right? And then the next weekend, it was the Arnold Classic. So like what I was saying with Chris, if he did a show immediately after the Olympia, it would be no stress on him. So we did those shows because there was so many shows back to back. And then remember the Grand Prix days, after the Olympia, there's like 9 shows. So it's like, how could you not hang on to some type of condition, for 9 different shows in different countries? So that's what made it easier back then in our time, is because we had the Pro Ironman, which I wish we still had. And then right afterwards, the next weekend was the actual Arnold Classic.
Now, my question to you guys is this. It looks like Chris is thinking about doing an open show, but he seems, very relaxed about it, just for fun, that his priority is the classic physique. Knowing Hany, as you guys know it, do you think that he would indulge in the idea of having Chris Bumstead going on stage on an open bodybuilding show in a relaxed manner? Hey, we're just here to have fun and test it out. Chris, I'll start with you.
Yes, I could see that happening for sure, because he alluded to that plan out as far as that, not to go for it straight for Mr. Olympia.
Chris, do you think Hany would take this as a, hey, let's just have fun in an open show? Or he would look to Chris and say, if we're gonna do this, let's do it right?
I mean, it's gonna be the same thing. I think for sure he would just do it for the fun of it, not to throw all his chips in the middle of the table like the Arnold Classic or the Olympia right off the bat. But I think he'd be curious to see where he might land or stack up towards the bigger guys.
Flex, what do you think?
I think he's under promising while he's going to overachieve. It's safe for him to say that. And I don't think he would himself would go on less lacquer. I think he would be 100%. Obviously, Hany wouldn't go for that either. But I think he's just, just saying kind of, hey, I'm just going to kind of take it easy. But nah, he won't. From the person I know and the competitor that I know, and Chris, no way in hell would he go into another show and possibly beaten by somebody that is not qualified to beat him. So no, I think he's just under promising while he's going to over deliver.
Bob, do you agree? Is this a fun thing to do, or you think they're going to crank it up and come in to shock the world?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think they would go in kind of on the, hey, let's see what we can do. And then I'm with Flex. I think this guy goes into a show. He beats everybody. Now you're qualified, right? Without a special invite. Now you have a decision to make. And, we're on that note. Every once in a while, somebody comes along in this sport that's a game changer. Okay, when Arnold retired, okay, and Zane, all of a sudden, it was the Zane era, right? 77, 78, and 79. He changed the game. Now, he changes the game because Lou Ferrigno gets the Hulk role. I still contend to this day, if Big Louie stays there, he's what, like 24, I think, and pumping iron? I mean, he's a young guy with all that muscle and promise and all that. If Louie continues, he might have won the next 8 or 9 Olympias in a row. There isn't a Zane era. I don't think it ever exists, but that's for another discussion. Zane comes around, he refines it, he brings a different physique, boom, and now we got a different era, right? Years later, Lee Haney would come, he would redefine it. Dorian would redefine it. Chris Bumstead is so good that if, hypothetically, he went in, won a show that qualifies him, goes in the Olympia, and let's just say he wins the Olympia, that's a game changer. It changes the scope of what they're looking for, quote, and all that kind of stuff. Because all of a sudden, people got to change their game plan to try to catch a Chris Bumstead at that point. Like I say, the notion of him 10 pounds heavier in condition on the Olympia stage, he wins the Olympia, it changes the sport forever.
So, Bob,
check this out. To interrupt Tarek, but if you think about it, this kid's only 28 years old. And right. We all know you're not going to hit your peak or at least your prime until you're around 32 to 35 years old. So what would that look like?
So, Bob, I want to go back to you very straightforward. Do you believe that Chris Bumstead has the potential of becoming Mr. Olympia?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's not even a question about it. Listen, classic bodybuilding, all right, classic, we call it classic, it's really classic bodybuilding, right? It's bodybuilding. If you can win the classic bodybuilding Olympia title 4 times in a row, and again, with all due respect to my good friend Ramon Dino, who's on his heels.
Now you're in trouble, Bob.
Right?
He's your good friend.
Now you're in trouble, Bob.
Here come the dinosaurs,
now
right?
You're in trouble, Bob.
Listen, as good as Ramon is, right?
Oh man, now you're in trouble, Bob.
The guy right now pushing the most for Chris to move on is Ramon Dino, okay? Because he would be probably 2-time Olympia champ right now, but Chris is in his way. If Chris Bumstead, with Hany in his corner, comes in the Olympia at 250 pounds, like I said, just 10 pounds higher. That's it. 10 pounds fuller without losing, obviously, too much. He wouldn't even have to be as ripped as he is, but let's just say he's really close. That's a game changer. At 6'1", standing next to those guys on stage, he would be very difficult to beat. And that's with all due respect to the current champ, Hany, to Derek Lunsford, the heir apparent, right? To Brandon and all the rest of the guys and any of the young guys coming up. Chris Bumstead would be a game changer. And I got news for you guys. We're about due. We're about at that time frame, like every sport goes through, where somebody comes along. Listen, everybody thought Michael Jordan would never be replaced, but he'd never be close. Boom, there's LeBron James. Everything goes in cycles on this earth.
Hey,
Yep,
Flex.
agree.
Flex. Bob Ciccarello makes a very strong statement, which is, I not only believe that Chris Bumstead can become Mr. Olympia, I believe he can change things up in the direction of bodybuilding. My question to you is, can Chris Bumstead be Mr. Olympia?
100%, 100%. And I also agree that he would change the game, just like Dorian changed it, right? And then Ronnie changed it, and we all had to follow suit. I believe that Chris is that good where he could win the show, even knowing of some great guys in Olympia currently now that were in the top 10. I've always said it's about matchups, right? And, looking at this guy and not even knowing that he was in his 230s, he has so much more room to grow. But, when you have that type of shape, 10 pounds look like 25 pounds. And I think he would be hell on wheels to deal with. Even more so, if he just plays the time game and just wait for some of these guys as he develop more, some of these guys are going to disappear. They're not going to be able to last forever. Kind of like Jay and Dexter. Yep. They had the time in a youth to outweigh us until we left, and then they took over. I 100% agree with Bob behind that. 100%.
Chris, you saw Chris Bumstead's career from the beginning. You saw his development from the beginning. You know his physique, and you know the changes that he can possibly make better than anybody because you had to study him every year with Breon Ansley.
Correct.
Do you believe that Chris Bumstead can become Mr. Olympia?
Actually, I do. I don't know how long he wants to do this sport is a bigger question, but the ability is there. I would like to see him attempt this feat because I think it'll be great for the sport. I think it'll give a whole nother makeover, as you will, and I think it'll give the sport everything it wants out of a physique. A physique like his is like the shape is there, the flat stomach, the separation from head to toe, all the muscle parts developed. I think the sport needs that.
And just to recap here, so we can finish this live with conclusions, you are in favor of Chris Bumstead receiving an invitation for the Olympia Open, Chris Cormier, yes?
I would, yes. Give it to me.
Okay. Flex Wheeler, are you in favor, yes or no?
Based on the criteria that they've been using lately, he's 100% qualified.
Bob Ciccarillo, are you in favor of Chris Bumstead receiving a special invitation to go to the Open?
Absolutely not. No. No. Listen, I love Chris. Like I said, I love Derek, right? I was always in favor of these guys getting there. But I'm also a purist. And we have a system of rules and regulations, and there's people that are out there busting their ass trying to qualify. Now, we don't have the points thing anymore, which I wasn't in favor of anyways, but you got to win a show to get in, okay? It's a different division. I don't care if it's still bodybuilding. The 212 is a different division. Classic's a different division. And it's no different for the girls, okay? If you want to, the bikini, champ wants to all of a sudden go and figure, should she just get a special invite? And the answer is no, because it's a different division. We're not talking about a legend of the sport, again, a Flex, a Chris, or somebody, give me, somebody that had some merit of consideration, okay? We're not talking about even a special circumstance. Somebody was on their way to the show, they've been a perennial top 3 guy, something happened, they couldn't compete. That's, I think, what that was created for. But I don't like opening that door because I think it opens the door for other people to sit there and submit their resume and go, well, how about me? And what about me? And listen, everybody would like the year off. I mean, you could make a case as one of these other competitors that Derek had an unfair advantage because he didn't have to qualify where they did. Everybody would like 8 months off to get ready for a show.
And that's why I said based on the criteria that
sure.
they've been currently using.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Derek,
going to be interesting.
No.
What's that?
Derek, what do you think? And don't give me this judge crap, all right? Because Sandy Ranelli, you just showed her, and she was giving advice. So F that, bump that. What do you think? Don't be a coward. You're supposed to be Brazilian.
Lose your 20 followers.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Let them send dinosaurs to you.
Hurry up. We're running out of time. We got 39 minutes that we've been on here. What do you think?
I think I'm going to give my opinion, and then I think Chris Bumstead is worth a special invitation. I think it would be awesome to see him in the Open. I think, I think it would be awesome to see him in the Open, and he won the Classic Physique 4 times. So I think he is worth the special invitation. I do understand some of the points that Bob is making, and they're very good points. But I believe that in bodybuilding, we are in a run to make our sport bigger and better. And there are certain people, certain circumstances that you have to break the rules in order to bring the sport up. Hey, listen, they did the Super Bowl in New York, and everybody was against it because of the weather. But they said, hey, we're going to have to do the Super Bowl in New York because it's a huge market. And it turned out the weather wasn't that bad. And they did the Super Bowl in New York in 2013, and it was a success. And it just increased the popularity of the NFL. These super teams in the NBA, there was a point where Chris Paul was going to play for the Lakers, and the commissioner, David Stern, he blocked that. And, a few years later, you had LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh in Miami. And yes, that was a super team. They ended up winning, but that was kind of cool for the sport. I liked it. And eventually they lost to the Dallas Mavericks, So I think that the executive team of the IFBB Pro League is going to make a great decision. I know Dan Solomon, in the end, it goes back to him. And, whether he says yes or no, people are going to love him or not like him for it. But, and I know Jake Wood wants to make the Olympia better. But
hey, let me ask you guys a hypothetical. If Breon Ansley wanted a special invite to go to the Mr. Olympia, does he warrant consideration?
But that's not the same physique, not the same person, though.
Come on, wait a minute. He's a former
same physique. I don't think he wants to be in the Open.
That's not the point. Not the point.
But Bumstead, the most popular bodybuilder in the sport.
So what?
It's different.
I got you, Bob.
Listen, Regan Grimes is a popular bodybuilder in the sport. What's that mean?
He went up and down in all of them anyway. He did them
but
all.
You see what I'm saying, though, is a former Mr. Olympia, not Mr. Olympia, former Olympia champ. Does he merit consideration if he wants to go in the Open and compete?
Based on the
criteria
criteria that they're currently
you got to look at the
using, he would
effectiveness
get it.
of the physique. How effective would he be against?
We don't know.
This big Rami or going?
No idea.
We don't know.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Chris Bumstead, in my opinion, I think this guy will eventually go to the Open. We don't know when, we don't know how, but I think based on the podcast with Hany Rambod, the Truth podcast, that this guy, Chris Bumstead, 4-time Classic Physique champion, will go to the Open category. It seems like it's getting ready to happen. It could happen next year or the following year. We don't know. My name is Tarek Elguindi with breaking news with Primetime Muscle Olympia TV. I have been honored to be joined by these amazing legends, Bob Cicherillo, Flex Wheeler, and Chris Cormier. We will see you next time with another edition of Breaking News. We'll see you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen.